A couple of days ago, I got a call off a friend saying the JT-2 had just arrived and would I like to have a play with it. He lives on the other side of the water. I live on one side of the Mersey. He lives on the other. He was over here doing some work, so he had it with him. And he said, if I'm quick enough and go and pick it up from him, I can have a little play with it before he digs into it. So he's not even seen it yet. Here's me unboxing the thing. So thanks from me and for everyone that wants to know what this sounds like compared to a vintage Jupiter-8. Now, I don't want to go into really too much detail on this, or I'll say that and I will, won't I? But I'm not going to do lots of different tunes with it, stuff like that. I think all everyone wants to hear with this is, does it sound anything like a Jupiter-8? So this is a single voice of a Jupiter-8 and it looks pretty much like a Jupiter-8. We've got these nice little lights, these little LEDs on the sliders. I don't know if the camera's showing it up, probably not, it's quite bright here, but these are orange, that's red, that's orange, that's green, these are white, they're red, you know. So it's quite a pretty little thing. It's got those Roland colours, except for the green, that's not very Rolandy, is it? We've got a green button down there as well. So maybe it is quite Rolandy. Anyway, I'll just go through the oscillators first. So starting off with a simple Sawtooth as normal. And we're getting really similar readouts from them, aren't we? Although if you look closely down here, you'll notice this isn't quite on full. If I put this on full, the Behringer is a bit brighter. Well, it's considerably brighter, especially if we go up here. You can see the Behringer's going way above 20 kilohertz. So just knock this down to about 9.5, just a little millimeter or two, and you get almost the same. I'll look at the filter in a bit, but for now, maybe a little bit more. Bang on central of this top line here. So the Sawtooth's really close, and if you look at that oscilloscope, you can see it's even got the same little weird shape on the top of the curve. It's like a little nipple on it. Moving over to the pulse then, and I've set this up already for a bit of PWM. The LFOs are slightly different rates, but that's very close, isn't it? Yeah, that's bang on, isn't it? So if we take the pulse width modulation off, let's put it onto manual, put it onto 0, manual 0. The Behringer's a little bit more buzzy, isn't it? If you look at those frequency analysis, you can see those intermediate harmonics a little bit higher on the Behringer, and that's where you get that little bit of extra buzz from. And in fact, you can hear the wobbling of the Jupiter-8 and the Behringer. When I was first setting this up, I was listening to the Behringer and I could hear this sort of like, I don't know, like a warbling, like it's a little bit unstable. Doesn't do it all the time though. It doesn't do it when I'm trying to demo it. But it does, and then I checked it with the Jupiter-8 and the Jupiter-8 does exactly the same. You can hear there, there's sort of little glitches, and you can hear in that as well. There you go. I wasn't imagining it. So let's reduce that pulse width. Same on the Jupiter. Only difference there really is the fact that it's stepped on the Jupiter. I don't know if that's a sticky knob or if it's because it's quantized for saving to MIDI. I don't know. Yeah, that's most likely quantized on there. Yeah, it's much smoother on the Behringer, but most importantly, the pulse width doesn't go through 0 and it's about the same size at minimum. So to all intents and purposes, they sound the same. Let's move over to the square. Both sound really nice and meaty, don't they? A bit louder. Whoops, don't detune it. The Behringer is actually velocity sensitive, and the Arpeggiator key step can't send a constant velocity, so I'm having to whack it to make sure I get the same velocity on every hit. So don't complain to me, please, that the levels are slightly different. Let's move over then to the triangle. They've both got that little buzz in there, haven't they? There's a few more of those intermediate harmonics on the Jupiter, but you can't hear it. They sound the same, but you hear the little crackle in that one then. You can hear the movement. And in the Jupiter. So what else have we got here? We've got sync, so let's put sync on both of them. Okay, this is me a fair while later. I've just been trying to demo the sync and the cross mod and I couldn't get them the same. And it turns out that the Behringer is sensitive to velocity on the envelope modulation amount and on the cross mod. And I don't know how that's happened. I can't see anything on the actual panel itself to suggest anything that's linking envelope modulation with the velocity, but it was doing something. So I've set it up now to get the cross mod pretty bang on. That's the Behringer. I've had to take the Arpeggiator out of the equation. I can't get it to send a constant velocity. There's no way of doing that on the key step 37. So this is the Jupiter, and this is the Behringer, and it's got a similar tone to it. I can't get them exactly matched because the amount of cross mod is different. If we come from and we do that on the Jupiter. So I'm trying to hit this exactly, and it's not easy to do. Was that it? It's hard to do because I can't hear them both at the same time. Yeah, so it's still hard to match the cross mod. I think it's got the same flavor, but because the amount is different, the amount of cross modulation is different, it's just really difficult to get them exactly matched. But let's try and do that on the Jupiter. It's not exactly the same, is it? But it's super close, actually. Yeah, so it's the same sort of cross mod, it's just hard to match the two of them together. Over to the sync then. So again, matching the tones. We'll listen to VCO2 and we'll put it into sync. And then do the same on the Jupiter. Put sync on, then modulate. VCO 2 with the envelope modulation. So that's envelope 1 on VCO 2, which is over here somewhere. Try the same on the Behringer. So okay, I'm just trying to get the amounts matched as well, and the envelopes. That's the Behringer, and this is the Jupiter. Yeah, they're nicely similar, aren't they? Let's turn the envelope modulation up as much as it will go. And then let's do the same on this. Whoops, where are we? Envelope modulation. Which one am I listening to? Doesn't sound like the envelope is modulating quite as much there. Let's take sync off. And then on the Jupiter. Yeah, we're getting much more envelope modulation off the Jupiter than we are on the Behringer. So listen to the peak on that tone, that peak frequency, and then on the Behringer. Yeah, so quite a big difference there, but quite a big difference there. Yeah, so there's quite a big difference there, but it's not annoying like it was when the envelope modulation amount was being controlled by the velocity, and every time I hit a key, I was getting a different tone, a different pitch out of Oscillator 2. So if you want to use it like a Jupiter-8, get rid of your velocity sensitivity. We play them together. You can hear there's definite differences there, and you can hear the envelope is a lot longer on the Jupiter-8. Here's a graph showing the two envelopes, and you can see that the envelopes are longer on the Jupiter-8. They're both analog envelopes. You've got a fully analog signal path on the JT-2, analog oscillators, filters, and VCAs with analog envelopes. So it is very, very closely matched to what the Jupiter-8 is doing, except the envelopes aren't quite as long. I've set them both on maximum attack, decay, and release here, and there's quite a marked difference, especially in the decay and the release times. I've done another little difference. So the next thing to look at is the filter. We've seen a little bit of this before with the Behringer being a little bit brighter, leaving it at 90% at the minute. They do sound very close, but if we open up the Behringer, you can hear it instantly gets a little bit buzzier. Spent so long doing that modulation, it's gone out of tune. To tune the Jupiter-8, just hit tune, and it's done. It's done. To tune the Behringer, it takes a bit longer actually, which is surprising as it's only got a single voice. But it's still doing it. Still tuning. Still tuning. There we go. It is brighter, but does it sound the same when we bring in the resonance? It's quite gentle, that resonance, isn't it? And that instantly makes me think I've done something wrong on the Behringer. And looking at it, I think we've got everything the same. Yeah. There's much more of a resonant peak on the Jupiter. It is in there, but it's much, much mellower, isn't it? You can get much more of that sort of sing-song, as Nick Bat would say, but not much of it. Let's try it on 12 dB. Much, much different that, isn't it? Yeah, it's very feeble, that resonance. I'm not sure that's right. It's definitely not Jupiter-8ish though, is it? Or definitely not my Jupiter-8ish. Because that's got some oomph, hasn't it? Let's stick an LFO on it. So let's do that over here. It's not hit the mark, that, has it? And I'm not really having a go at the Behringer. I was hoping it was going to be much closer, to be honest. But it sounds nice, that, doesn't it? But it doesn't sound the same. Let's just throw a bit of the high pass on. Let's take the LFO off. And do the same over here. And I'm just double checking that resonance again. Slightly disappointed in that, to be honest. I thought it was going to be closer. I'm not sure why the resonance is quite so low. But let's just take a quick listen to the LFO speeds. So we'll keep it with this. Let's just whack this up. And try that on the little one. So the LFO's faster on the Behringer. Or is it? That's about the same, actually, isn't it? So, and what about the modulation amounts? That's going from about 300 to 4 kilohertz. Try that on here. And that's going from 300 up to about 20, so you're getting much more modulation of the filter with the Behringer. Or you can't really hear it as well because the resonance peak is too low. And what about envelope modulation amount? That's going from around 5 kilohertz down to about 150. And that seems to be coming from a little bit higher. Maybe from around 10K. which I think is really important for those Roland style bass tones, which actually the Jupiter-8 isn't as good at as other things. Yeah, so we can make a pretty good stab at that. Let's try it with a square wave. Getting more modulation from the Behringer, actually, it sounds a bit better. Let's drop that. So that on about, what's that, about 75%? Is what the Jupiter's doing, so don't take it above 75% if you want it to sound like a Jupiter-8. Anyway, I think that brings me to the end. I'm not going to look at the arpeggios and stuff like that. I just really wanted to look or listen to what it sounded like, and it is very close, but it's not identical. Okay, let's take a very quick look at the ARP. We've got the ARP down here. We can change the rates. We've got internal USB, MIDI or trigger. I've tried it with USB and MIDI and internal, and it works just fine. It's actually set up on MIDI at the minute. If I play this. If I put that on internal, we can hear it's changing the rate there. Back onto MIDI. I had to stop and start Logic in order for it to receive the MIDI again, but I'm just showing you really that it does work. I've not done really conclusive tests on how fine the timing is or anything like that, but it is working. We've got different octaves to 4, up, down, up and down, random. And then we have paraphonic mode. The only thing I'd say about these lights is that these are really dull. They're almost as dull as they are on the Jupiter-8 itself. Yeah, so paraphonic mode. And I would say this is much more akin to a duo mode on a monosynth because we've only got a single voice, but we've got the 2 oscillators, but we can split the 2 oscillators. So this is playing 2 oscillators, oscillator 1, oscillator 2 with an interval. Bring that down to the same note and then play the interval there. Let's add some release. And Behringer described as paraphonic, and that's because we've got a single filter for both of the notes, and they both use the same envelopes. Quite cool though, because we can change the tone on one compared to the other. A bit of PWM on that maybe. Where are we? So 2 different tones on the different notes. There you go, that's your paraphonic or your duo mode. So now we've come to the end. I really couldn't help myself. I had to look at the arpeggio and the para mode. But overall, it's a really nice looking thing. They've really got the look, down to a T. It's a shame these buttons actually aren't the same size as the JP8s, because then you could use them if the JP8s broke, which they do. But yeah, that's a very minor point. I don't think many people have actually, about buying this, they're going to have the JP8. It's probably cheaper to buy this than to buy other replacement buttons, just a little thought. But anyway, yeah, overall, you know, it's a really nice little thing, isn't it? But there are a couple of things that I think they could do with updating in a perfect world. Hopefully they could do it with firmware updates if you can ever get Synth Tribe working again, because this still isn't recognized by any Synth Tribe app I've been able to get hold of. Is increase the resonance if possible, because that is a bit of a shame, and maybe increase the LFO modulation amount and increase the envelope times, but I don't know if any of that is possible. But as a single voice, that sounds a bit like the Jupiter-8. Does the Jupiter-8 sort of stuff? Yes, it does. It does Jupiter-8 sort of stuff. It looks like a Jupiter-8. It does the same things as a Jupiter-8, but it's not identical. It's very, very close. Just a real shame about that filter, to be honest. Anyway, nice short one for you today. I hope that was of some use to somebody somewhere. If it was, please do subscribe, ring the bell, join me over on Patreon. I've got patches, samples, tutorials, all sorts of other little bits on there as well. And do take a look at my starskycarr.com website. Again, patches, samples, cheap stuff, full sample packs. But as I always say, it's nice if you pick up even some of the cheaper bits because it really does all help to support the channel. So thanks for staying to the very end, and I will see you next time.